Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Find Me in a Book. We are on episode 130. That's crazy that it's already here, you know? Not that 130 is like significant or anything. It's just crazy that there's 130 episodes out there. There's a little bit more because of like random ones and like half ones, but we are saying it's 130, and I will be hitting my third year of doing this in October. So we still have half the year left before I hit that 3-year mark. So technically 2.5 years, but I've enjoyed every single moment, and I'm just excited to keep doing this for you. So last week I said that Skies Over Caledonia from Samantha Young was on my TBR, so I did finish it this week. I'm not going to be doing an episode on it just because I did an episode on the past 3 books. Yeah, was there 3? Yes. Why am I blanking? 2 other? No, there was 3. There was 3 books, and this is the 4th book. And in the 3rd book, it's about Theo and Sarah. And this book, The Skies Over Caledonia, is about Sarah's cousin, Jared. And in the 2nd book, I can't remember the guy's name, but the girl is Aria, who her dad is like the director, and we kind of learn about her sister Allegra. So the 4th book is about Allegra, and she definitely has had some trauma in her life, like quite a bit of trauma. And I really enjoyed this book because it felt very like raw and real, and I just really liked like the chemistry between the two. And it was like a fake marriage, or like a marriage of convenience, because she couldn't come back into the country. Like once she leaves, like she wouldn't have been able to come back. And because they're like, oh, are you living here? So they were like, they put a hold on her passport. And so she was like, I need to just marry someone or figure it out so that I can get this visa. And with Jared, he like works his grandpa's farm, which his grandpa died, I think in book 2 or I think it was at the end of book 2. And so he's taken over like the farm and everything, and the farm is not doing well, and he really doesn't want to sell it. He's trying to like pivot and everything. And so Allegra actually comes to him and is like, hey, I have my inheritance. I have all this money. Like, let me help you if you marry me. And he's like, well, okay, because also his dad is like coming into the picture, which he's a deadbeat dad, and is saying like, oh, I want this money. And so there is like that conflict, and like I'm not gonna like share any spoilers about it, which there is a mystery in this book, which there was a mystery in like the other books, and kind of like a danger plot line, and there is in this one, but it doesn't make sense. I mean, it's not that it doesn't make sense. It just was kind of in the, like, out there, Like, I felt like the author was kind of reaching too far with it, because a part of it, which I thought, okay, I'll tell you like a little bit of spoiler, because Jared's dad comes into the picture, and so I thought his dad was doing all these different things that are happening to like Allegra, and there is a twist that it's not his dad. Like his dad did do a couple things, but not like the big majority of things that are like targeting Allegra. And when you find out who actually is doing all that, you're like, that doesn't really make sense. Like, I don't know. There was just plot holes with it that I was like, okay. But I do like the characters. I do like the storyline. I do like, the setting, the timeline. The pacing was really good. But it was just like that mystery part, like the second half, that I was like, okay, well, that's whatever. But I really liked them in general, and I think all 4 books are definitely still worth the read. And there is going to be a 5th book that comes out, which the very first book, the main character, which I forget her name, but she's the one that has the daughter, Callie. And the fifth book is going to be about the daughter, Callie, and Lewis, which Lewis is the son of one of the characters that was in a different series, but it's still like in the same area, like universe, you know what I'm saying? That they all like know each other. So that should be fun. It kind of advances the timeline of these couples. And so I'm excited to find out what happens with them. And they have a little bit of a storyline in a couple of these books, like you see their friendship when they're young kids and as they're growing up. And then in this fourth book, they are teenagers, and so you see like a little bit of it. But that comes out in August, is Callie and Lewis's book. And then I did pick up another book by J.T. Gessinger, which she's the one, she, I'm not really sure their gender, but they're the one that did the Mafia series that I really like became obsessed with. Like I think it's like Carnal Urges is one of the books, but it's in a past episode like a couple months ago, but I really actually became obsessed with it, and that is like a dark romance. But she has a series about like a band and like the band members, and so I'm going to try out the first book just to see what it's like and if I want to continue with it. But I really liked her writing, and I really liked like the pacing and the timeline and the characters, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, just a little bit like, spicy smut that I'm like, ooh, okay, like a little dabble, like little darker that I'm like, ooh, look at me. Just kidding. That was so weird. But you know what I'm saying. It's not like the light and hearty books that I usually pick up, like this one today, and what I usually gravitate towards. And so it's kind of fun to find that author, J.T. Gessinger, and know that she has these like darker romances, that it's like just dark enough and just morally gray enough that I'm like, ooh, okay, this is actually really good. And I don't, it's not too much. It's not too much. That's the key thing, is it's not too much, because I have definitely read too much. We know that. Okay, so got that out of the way. Let's talk about today's book, which is The Dixon Rule, and it just barely came out. And this is in the same universe of like The Graham Effect, which was the very first book. And then, gosh, I always forget what the series is called like before that, but it's all like the same characters and same families. Like the first book is The Graham Effect with Gigi and Ryder, and Gigi is the one that has like, her dad is like a famous NHL like player, and she's like the daughter of them. So we already know like her and her, like her dad and her mom's story, like they were a book. And then all his, like the dad's friends, like I can't even remember what his last name, like something Graham, of course. Gosh, why am I not remembering it? But yeah, they have their whole series. You learn all about them. And then remember, I really, really liked The Graham Effect. And it's not that I didn't like today's book. I just really like The Graham Effect better. Like the book today, The Dixon Rule, is not going to go in my top 10, unlike The Graham Effect. And I think it's because Gigi's character, I just related to her more. Not like I was super relatable, but I just really, really liked her personality more. And like her jokes and her funness. Not saying that like Diana isn't fun, but it's just, she's a different type of personality that it was a fun read, but I just didn't click with her, if that makes sense. And so I think The Graham Effect will still be in like top 10, just not this one. There is going to be a third book, which is called The Charlie Method, and that comes out February 25th. I don't know who it's about. Just because there's not like a description or anything, but I want to say it's about maybe their friend Beckett or Will, because they both kind of like came into the story, actually more Will than Beckett, and kind of more about his dilemmas in this book. So I want to say maybe his is the next book, which would be cool. I really liked Will. So, just to give you a reminder, Diana is Gigi's best friend, and Shane is Ryder's best friend. So, it's Diana and Shane that's in this book. And it's like their big group of friends, like the hockey team, some of like the cheerleader squad, just because Diana is the cheer captain. And we do see like little snippets of like Gigi's parents, just because they have their wedding in this book. Even though Gigi and Ryder already got married, like they eloped, but they wanted to do like this big wedding, and it's really fun to see like all the characters come into play. And as we know in like the Graham Effect, there is like that summer camp that Gigi's dad does, and Ryder helps, and yeah, Shane kind of helps with it too. So there's a lot of cameos from a lot of different characters, and so I definitely recommend reading the other series just to know these names and their backgrounds and how they come into play, because I definitely forgot a lot of the characters and like their last names. And so when their kids came into like the storyline, I was like, ooh, I don't remember who your parent was and what their story was. So I recommend reading them all kind of within like the same time, I don't know, around each other, you know what I'm saying? Okay. So, like I said, it's a good book, not my favorite. No to Mother Sister Standard, just because I think it's too spicy, and it's just not the storyline that they go for. They don't really like sports romances, which I do. I really like a good sports romance. It is pretty spicy. Another, I guess I wouldn't call it a problem, but another thing that really stood out to me that I didn't super like is that it was very spicy focused. Like, there, of course, was a good storyline. The timing was good. It kind of got slow in a little bit of places, but I felt like these characters were very centralized on the spice. Like, that was like their every thought, their every conversation. Like, it was just too much that I was like, can it be more of a background thing? Because especially in like the Graham Effect, which I'm going to compare these books, you guys know this, it wasn't like the main thing that they were doing, and it just kind of like all blended really well together. And this, I felt like it didn't. Like there was too much. There was too much for me. And we know that my standard of spice is different than everyone else's, which is fine. But just the focus was on the wrong things, and it really detracted from the story. Even though I did like the story, there is a moment towards the end, I will tell you, that I was in tears, because there is a death. I'm not going to tell you anything more about it, but I was in tears. And I will say that there probably is a trigger warning as well with like domestic abuse. Like, we learn more about why Diana's ex-boyfriend is her ex-boyfriend, and there is a scene in there where he does get physical with her. Just like punching, like he punches her, and like he's abusive towards her. Nothing like sexual or anything like that. I just wanted to make you aware. Okay, so we already know that Diana is the captain of the cheerleading squad for Briar University. That's where they're at. That's where all these characters kind of, have their start. And she, I believe, is a senior. Yeah, she's a senior. He is also a senior. And Shane has already signed to play with NHL in Chicago. So he basically just has to get through the year, do really well in like his hockey season, and everything will go well. And another thing is the hockey wasn't a main focus of the story either. Like, they had their own story before it, and hockey was very much in the background, which was interesting. Because again, in the other books, hockey is like number one. It's their life. Like, it's constantly talking about the game and the his teammates. Why could I not remember that word? But this one, yeah, it didn't. It was very much about Diana and Shane and what they're going through in like their everyday life. And I don't know. I liked it. I didn't like it in some places. It was a mixture. So Diana hates Shane. Like, it just starts off, she hates Shane. And that's because this past year, he has actually kind of gone, like, F-boy status. And he's kind of like slept around a lot, and especially with like the cheerleaders on her squad, because his girlfriend broke up with him about a year ago and they had been dating for 4 years. So he was kind of depressed and trying to get over it. And so now we get up to this point where Diana hates him because she's like, you screwed like all my team and you're not a serious person. And she just does not have patience for him. And he completely understands, because he's like, you know what, this past year hasn't been my proudest moment. Like, I've gone through some things. And so his parents actually bought the condo right next to Diana's. And Diana's condo is from her aunt. Her aunt passed away and gifted her this condo. And so it is in like this little kind of, not neighborhood, but just complex, where there are just some characters, and I love it. And they have like these monthly, like 2 times a month HOA meetings, and they are so funny, and you love these characters. And they have this like group chat that Diana refuses to let Shane be a part of, and it's just silly. Like their bickering is so silly. And it wasn't too much. Like, I've definitely read some books that there is bickering between the characters, but it just goes on for too long and it's too much. Like, yeah, I've definitely read that. But with this, it was a really good amount of bickering turned flirting, and kind of adjusting throughout the book to where it is less like fighting, I hate you, to fighting, like bickering, like playfulness out of love. And I did like that switch, and it was very gradual, and you can kind of tell. So it wasn't like annoying or frustrating that they're constantly bickering. Like, it just became endearing, and I did really like that. So at one point there is like a truth and dare little game with their friends at the very beginning when she does hate Shane, and there's like a kiss, and of course like they can't stop thinking about it. And then Shane's ex-girlfriend comes into town because she's going to be touring the campus the next day, and she asks if she can stay at his apartment. So he's like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, like I'm excited to see her, like I've missed her. And she actually shows up with her current boyfriend, and he didn't know that she was dating. She didn't say that she was bringing her boyfriend. It was just like rude. Like, we do not like this girl. And so he actually texts Diana, or calls her, I think, and is like, hey, I need you to pretend to be my ex-girlfriend, or I need you to pretend to be my current girlfriend. Like, I just need you to help me out with this. Like, I don't care. You can come up with our story. Just please help me. And she's like, okay, cool. I can do that. And so that is the beginning of the end. Because we all know fake dating always progresses to as if feel like they really are dating, and then they have real feelings, and then it goes from there, which is exactly what happened. But we also meet Diana's crazy ex-boyfriend. He is he's scary. Like, he is very manipulative and very controlling, and he just is not a vibe. And you can tell that from the very beginning. Like, he's very like possessive and everything. And so things kind of go sideways with him. And he does not get the hint that she's like, please leave me alone. He actually rents a condo in her like little place for 6 months, because he's trying to find a more permanent place. And so she's like, oh my gosh, Shane, can we please keep this pretend boyfriend girlfriend up, because my ex just moved in here and I want him to leave me alone, and I just need us to do this. And of course he's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I think he had feelings for her from the very, very beginning, and it's only been her that has like hated him. And so you can tell like the softening like of her, and how she does like start to feel more things for him. And I love that. I love that gradualness about it, because she's a strong and fun personality. And that goes really well with Shane, because it brings out his fun personality, like constant joking. They're just having a great time together. And you can honestly feel that in this book with like the writing. And I just like how they look out for each other. They're so supportive of each other. And she is a very motivated person in general, and she loves dancing. She loves to be a cheerleader. She actually had a partner for a dancing competition, and her partner bails on her. And so she convinces Shane to take his place. And so they are learning over the summer how to do like the cha-cha and the waltz and like this other dance. And so that brings them even closer together and starting to like trust each other. And it's just cute. Like their supportiveness and how they're there for each other is just really cute. And how they react with each other's families. And then, yeah, it's a good book. Like it really is. And they each go through like their individual trials and they grow from it and they're supportive. And it just, yeah, it was good. It was entertaining. It kept my attention. Of course, there are a couple slow spots, but for the most part, it was a pretty solid book. Like, I do recommend you read it if you read the other books. It's definitely not, well, I can't say that it's not a standalone, because you definitely could read it standalone. You just wouldn't really know very much about the characters going into it. But yeah, I recommend you pick it up. I'm not going to say that it's in my top favorites, but it was a very solid book. And that's all I can really say about it. So yeah, that was the Dixon rule, which that comes into play too, the title, because she has these like different rules for him when he does move into like the place and like her area where she's like, you can't do this and you can't do this. And so he's like, okay, it's the Dixon rules. So that's pretty fun to learn about. And yeah, I think this week, let's see. What am I going to do for next week? Next week is actually going to be the book with me and the husband. I'm not even going to lie. I tried to read the book that he got me, which I'm still going to keep continuing, but it is like an aristocratic or like an time era. I don't know what you call that type of book, but it's like in the 1817s. And good thing that I watched Bridgerton, which I was obsessed with, because now I know like the tone and a couple of the terms, but I'm not even joking. The writing is so difficult in that book. Like I feel like I'm a pretty like, learned person. I don't think that's even a word, which kind of, throws my point in with what I'm about to say, is that there are so many big words. Like so many big phrases and complicated sayings that I'm like, I literally do not know what this word means. And why can't you just simply say that she was going to get like her sheets or something? Instead, it's like this whole big long sentence with all these big words that I'm like, I do not know what is happening. Like, and that it really has taken me so long. I think I've gotten to like the 5th chapter, and that's with like, I don't know, like 4 hours of reading. It's difficult, y'all. It's a very, very dense book, and it's not even a very long book, but I still like it hasn't kept my interest, and so it's even more difficult. So I'm giving myself another week to try and get through it, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to finish it, but we're still going to do an episode about it. I do have a backup book that I will read as well. So just in case that it doesn't work out, we can talk about both books in this next episode. And then I'm going to be talking about The Dark Window, which my sister is actually going to be on that episode. She read the series as well, which I was like, please, please, please read these. And she loved it. So she was like, I want to be on the episode. And I said, yes, please be on this episode. So that's kind of the lineup. I don't know anything more after that, but I'll definitely keep you updated. Kind of a short little episode this week, but I just wanted to let you know that The Dixon Rule is a very solid book, and Elle Kennedy is still one of my favorite authors, and it was just very solid. Very, very solid. Well, thanks for tuning in. And I hope you have a great week. And wherever you are listening to this episode, if you could rate and review, that definitely helps me out. And follow me on all the social medias. It's just Find Me in a Book podcast. So anyways, I will talk to you guys next week.